We are talking about right now Kash Patel, Senate Judiciary Committee meeting that he does. This was fairly regular. They host these.
Right. It's a part of the oversight function of the Senate Judiciary Committee as they host the administration heads of different departments under their purview.
What's good is you get kind of an inside look of what's actually going on, what's happening in Washington, D.C. And look, we've had a week full of chaos, a week full of heartbreak and shock. So sometimes it's good to take a little bit of a breather and be able to know what else is going on as, again, Kash Patel faces this committee. And what we've learned through him is he's not afraid to give actually a decent amount of information at these hearings, and that is what we have found today. I just want to kick off with a soundbite from this. You know, this is something we're paying attention to. Will, you want to set this up?
Yeah, so this is him going over the work the FBI has done under his leadership as compared to last year's numbers from the FBI. Let's play Bite 19.
Under this administration, the FBI has arrested more than 23,000 violent criminals. That's more than twice for the same time period from last year alone. 23,000, more than twice from the same time period last year. We've taken over 6,000 illegal firearms off the streets. That number is an exponential increase. We've identified and located more than 4,700 child victims. More than 4,700 child victims have been found by this FBI. That is a 35% increase from the same time period last year. 1,500 child predators have been arrested. That's a 5% increase from the same time last year. 300 human traffickers have been arrested. That's a 10% increase from the same time last year. Over 350 members of Tren de Aragua, foreign terrorist organization, have been arrested, and we have 42 ongoing cases. That is a 250% increase from the same time last year. Those are just some of the things the FBI is doing differently and better because we are leading the mission to crush violent crime and defend the homeland. We have also arrested captured four top 10 fugitives from the FBI's top 10 most wanted list. To put that in perspective, that's the same amount I've captured in 7 months than my predecessor did during the entirety of the Biden administration. Those are real results, and the credit is to the men and women at the FBI.
Look, we can go through a week of chaos and issues, but let's look at a bigger picture here. And that bigger picture is a lot of what the FBI is doing has resulted in very positive results. I mean, just alone, if you just want to take the 4,700 child victims since they took over, 4,700, nearly 5,000 child victims have been located, identified and located, and found by the FBI. It's a 35% increase from the previous year. He goes through a lot of other stats, but that's the big one that jumps out to me. When you look at this, obviously there's a lot of different ones, but that one is one we should be celebrating. Now, this isn't something that has happened, Will, because of the Charlie Kirk assassination,
right?
But because these can happen on a regular basis, though this has been the first one really he's done to this specific group.
Right.
We have seen Tulsi Gabbard. We've seen other people have these kind of hearings, and it is a bit more transparent than it feels like it was for the last decade.
Well, how many times?
4 years.
Yeah, how many times did you hear Director Wray say, "I don't know, I don't know"? Many times when Director Patel was saying, "I don't know," they were asking for like a very specific, precise number at a very individualized field office. Like how many people have either resigned at this specific field office, and he's like, I don't know that, but I will get you the response. With Director Wray, it was always something broad, like, why was the FBI targeting Catholic churches? And he's like, I don't know. I feel like it was just one field office. So you're already seeing a difference in the tone, the transparency. I did like the laying out of the statistics of what the FBI has already done. I mean, 23,000 violent criminals that they have arrested since he has been the director, 6,000 illegal firearms. These are things that have been taken off the streets. These are things that every American should be celebrating, because now one of the main criticisms we had about the FBI under James Comey and then Director Wray was that the FBI had become a political machine. It had almost gone back to that J. Edgar Hoover era where the director was able to utilize and wield the FBI as a political force, and that's what they were doing. They were doing political investigations. They were doing political hit jobs. They were going after parents at school board meetings. They were going after pro-life advocates. They were going after the Catholic churches out of Richmond and trying to make that a widespread FBI policy. What he's showing here is that by shifting the priorities back to police work and assisting local police forces, you can get real results. When you're seeing that much percentage increase, and even the fact that they've caught 4 on the FBI's 10 most wanted list, that's more than all of the Biden administration, and they've done that in 6 months. That's showing real results to the American people. And to some degree, I think that there are people that are conservatives that were fans of Kash Patel that are buying in a little bit to what the media is putting out about there. They're trying to show chaos. They're trying to show that the FBI has low morale, that things aren't happening the way they thought. But in reality, one, the FBI is doing the work they're supposed to do. So if you haven't seen quite the results yet on some of the higher profile things that you want, one, if they've done investigation, a lot of that is in the hands of the DOJ, when we know that they've impaneled grand juries in some of those. So that's out of the FBI's hands. But also it shows this is the work of the FBI to make America safe again. That is what President Trump ran on. That is what the FBI's changed from being a political organization that's supposed to be quasi-independent, as they would say, because of law enforcement not directed by the president. But we saw how that happened under the last administration, that the law enforcement capacity of the American government was weaponized in a political fashion. They're getting away from that, and these numbers really speak to that. It's impressive, and I think that Kash Patel, the director, has done a good job of laying this out.
I see a lot of comments coming in. Some of them are not happy with Kash Patel, including people who have really say they don't have a lot of trust in him at this point. I want to know, much like when we have on certain guests, what is it? What was the tipping point for you? Why do you feel like you cannot trust this man anymore in this position? Because I feel like you're talking about a pretty strong name. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino have kind of fulfilled that promise. Now, look, everyone's going to have issues. There's going to be problems here and there, but the full lack of trust is when you have a fairly transparent, seems like a guy. Just curious your thoughts. Tell me why. Let's go ahead and take a phone call, though. Let's go to Ronald. Go ahead.
Yes, thanks for taking my call. Truly enjoyed the comments that you and Will had made concerning the contrast between the previous administration and the current administration. And I could see the frustration that Boyle had actually experienced because of the fact of seeing all of the power of the FBI and the Department of Justice literally. Hey, Ronald,
I'm going to pause you for a second because I want maybe Will can explain to people who don't know what you're referring to. We're talking about O'Boyle, who was a whistleblower, Garrett O'Boyle, whose case was just resolved. Let's give people, we'll go right back to you, Ronald, but I realize that I do this sometimes when there's brand new people. We don't give them any context to what we're talking about here. Give a little brief background on that.
Garrett O'Boyle was an FBI agent that was a whistleblower trying to point out some of the misuse and weaponization and bias of the FBI, and as a result of that, he had a security clearance suspended, and he was suspended without pay for years. And we fought alongside Empower Oversight to get a resolution. He has now been reinstated to the FBI and with back pay and benefits and for all that harm that was done to him and his family. We also secured one for Marcus Allen, very similar type circumstances. So Ronald's just pointing out that this FBI is also bringing back people that were unfairly targeted for even blowing the whistle on their politicization.
We may never hear from them again because now they are back again in Kash Patel's oversight, if you will, which is pretty great. Let's go back to you, Ronald, though. Just want to give people an understanding. Go ahead.
Sure thing. And that is why there was such a big contrast between the previous administration and the current administration, and the fact that the numbers say it all. As Kash Patel was literally just explaining, the numbers literally just explains it all. And the children that were discovered, I mean,
that's the shocking number.
Not just discovered, just rescued, because who knows what type of crime situation they would have been involved in, just rescued.
Yeah, 1,500 child predators and over 4,500, I believe, 4,700 child victims have been found by this FBI. Like I said, a 35% increase. Look, they could do nothing else. There could be zero other statistics showing good this FBI is doing, which, of course, there are great statistics. And that alone is worth it. That alone shows that we have such a changing of the guard here, where we're taking the most serious of cases serious, which, of course, there is nothing more serious than the victimization of children in this country.
Well, and to point out the hypocrisy of the left right now, they're trying to say all these things are covering up for Epstein. when 4,700 victims have been found by the FBI, 1,500 child predators, and 300 human traffickers have been arrested, so almost 2,000 perpetrators of these crimes against children, those are huge numbers that cannot be overlooked, that the FBI is doing the real work of people that are still being victimized today, not what the left has all of a sudden co-opted as their own hit job against the president and something that cannot be prosecuted further. So we look at this and see real action and real numbers by the FBI that cannot be overlooked.